Eamon Khan here for seconds out with British and Commonwealth champion and knocking on for world title distinction, Emma Dolan. Emma, good to see you. How you feeling?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. As I was just saying earlier, yeah, just the conversation surrounding itself is about getting that world title shot. Where are you currently in terms of landing Garcia in the ring?
Yeah, so the fight's been ordered. I was mandatory number one challenger. The fight got ordered second week of October, so that's brilliant news. Just having negotiations at the minute, seeing if any of the promoters want to put the fight on. If not, it will go to purse bids next month, and then we'll see what's happening with it.
So, what happens in terms of those negotiations, and how do they look in terms of landing the fight for this year?
I think it will probably be early next year. Ideally, I'd like it in December. I think it'd be brilliant. I'm in the gym at the minute, ticking over, so I'd be in a really good position to go for it this year. I don't think it will end up happening this year. I do think it'll probably be next year. But there's chats happening. Carl's been speaking to Matchroom, see maybe if they wanted to put the fight on for me and then give Shannon possibly, like if I won the fight, to give her a shot at it next. Um, but having a bit of back and forth for them, having a few chats with different people. So we just got to wait and see if one of the promoters want to put it on. If not, like I say, it'll go to purse bids.
In terms of it going to purse bids, how do you feel about fighting abroad for the title?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me to be honest. I'd kind of relish in it. I mean, going over to Mexico to beat a Mexican, would be quite lively, wouldn't it? Obviously having it in the UK would be better money. You'd have a better exposure, and you'd be able to have a lot more support there. But if it come to a need to go to Mexico and bring the belt back to the UK, that's exactly what I'd do.
That's fighting talk. There aren't too many fighters who'd be happy to go abroad, and especially fighting the Mexican style, which is sometimes quite the problem for British fighters to take on and have that attitude. That's a different mentality that you normally hear from fighters.
Yeah, look, I'm as game as they come anyway, but I'd feel very confident in that fight. I've watched a few times, and she's a very good champion, but I believe my style would be completely wrong for her.
How do you feel about if you capture the title? Of course, it's one step at a time, but then having to give that first defense to Shannon Ryan.
Well, obviously, I don't have to do that. I'd only do that obviously if Matchroom decide to put the fight on. Thank them sort of thing for putting the fight on. If not, she's ranked number two of the IBF. I'm sure she'll be in a mandatory position, but really, I want to unify the division anyway. That's how I'm looking at it. So obviously, I want to get through Omar Garcia. That's the first fight there, and then you got the other champions with Mizuki Haruta, who's now just been given the Ring Magazine belt as well. That'd be a great fight. You've got Jasmine Artiga, so I'd like to just go after the champions ideally.
I was doing a little search on social medias for your name, and when I was looking around on Twitter, I saw a lot of people kind of saying that your name isn't being mentioned enough, isn't being floated around in the circles when it comes to one, giving you the credit, and two, matchmaking you into those fights. Is that how you feel right now in terms of your name isn't being circulated enough when it comes to the conversation at the top of the tree?
Yeah, I feel like it's I'm not somebody who acts hard done to, but
Yeah.
I've beat everybody domestically, and my name doesn't really get spoke about that often. I think that's obviously because I don't have a TV promoter, so I'm not in the sort of spotlight. I'm not going to get spoken about as much as some other people, but I beat everybody. I beat everybody domestically at my weight. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm above that level now. I'm now knocking on the door for a world title. Me and Carl have got ourselves in that position without any TV backing, which is pretty unheard of. So, you know, yeah, I feel like I probably should be spoken about a bit more. But at the end of the day, I'm not that bothered. I'm on my own journey, and when I get this belt and bring it back to the UK, hopefully I'll get a bit more recognition then.
Are you the type to start calling people out? Do you think that'll be part of your repertoire moving forward?
I'd fight anybody. Like I say, any of the champions. Jasmine Artiga calls herself an animal. I don't think there's anything too special there. Mizuki Haruta is obviously just been given the Ring Magazine title, so she's probably looked at as one of the best at the weight. I'll be happy to fight her as well. Obviously I'm mandatory for Irma Garcia. That's why I'm going for this belt. But my aim is to go and beat her, become world champion, and I want to unify the division. I want to go undisputed in super flyweight.
In terms of those names that you listed, one step at a time, of course, but which one do you think is the toughest fight?
Probably the toughest out of it. You just can't say, can you? Each very different style fighters. They're each very different style fighters. I think Mizuki Haruta is probably the most technical. of the group. You know, she's a bit more of a slick boxer, where the rest are just a bit bruisers. But they're all world champions. So they're all good in their own right.
I want to ask you about last weekend in terms of watching Shannon Ryan defeat Chloe Watson. What did you think of the fight and how it played out?
I don't think really a lot happened, to be honest. I think it's a pretty quiet fight. Shannon was probably just quietly nicking the rounds. Chloe was just sort of starting to get going. There's obviously the head clash. Um, and that was it. Yeah, the head clash happened, accidental one and that. And then Chloe couldn't see out of her eye. So personally, I think the fight should have been stopped after the third round and call it a no contest. And they should be having a rematch. But obviously, it went the following round. It went back to call back for the scores and Shannon won the fight. But if I was Shannon personally, that wouldn't feel like a victory to me because the fight didn't really get going, and it was due to a head clash. The fight was stopped. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, really.
More than a year since you fought Shannon, does she look any different to how you fought her or what you faced in the ring?
I don't think so. Like I say, you couldn't really take much from the fight, but she just does the same old touch to the body, launch the right hand over the top. Um, Obviously, didn't really get into the fight. Couldn't see if she had anything different planned for later on in the fight, but no, she didn't really look much different to me, to be honest.
I want to get your take at the top of the tree when it comes to the female boxing code. Waiting to see what happens with Katie Taylor, who seems to be taking a bit of a step outside of the ring. What do you think is next in line for Katie?
I don't know. To be truthful, like Katie's in a position where she's achieved everything in boxing. It wouldn't be a bad thing for her to retire. You know what I mean? Not calling her to retire, but
Hmm.
she's been boxing a long time now. She's served the sport really well. She's had a great career. Maybe she's just taken that time to reflect on her career and see if she wants to carry on going and what sort of avenues are there for her. Personally, I wouldn't have a problem seeing her retire.
What about Claressa Shields? And she's been calling out Laila Ali for a number of months. Do you think we'll see that fight ever materialize?
We might do if the money's there. I think personally, it'd probably be a bit more of like it wouldn't be it'd be like an exhibition, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be right. Layla hasn't boxed for years. She boxed in the sort of 90s, didn't she? So
Mm.
I don't think that's it wouldn't be a fight that I'd like to see. If it happened, obviously I'd probably watch it, but it's not like a fight I'd be calling out for. It's just a money fight, really, isn't it?
MVP have been making a move and making a play in female boxing, looking to swallow up a lot of the talents like yourself. Have you had uh, any sort of discussions or any sort of slight conversations regarding potentially joining up with MVP?
Yeah, we've got a good relationship with MVP. We were talking to them. I think they've got such a roster of fighters at the minute. They're just trying to get them out on shows, to be honest. So
Mm.
we had a few discussions, but we couldn't really get to an end sort of deal. But like I say, if I get this fight now with Emma Garcia and get through that successfully, hopefully, and then they've got Jasmine Artiga there, the WBA champion. So there's fights there to be made.
What do you think about Jake Paul's introduction to boxing?
Him as a boxer or him as a promoter.
Either or, you tell me.
He's done very well on the promotional front. I think MVP is a really good brand, and I think what he's
Mm.
doing for female fighting is really, really good.
And as a boxer?
No comment.
Would you what would one tip be or one thing to one advice you'd give him ahead of taking on Gervonta Tank Davis?
Use his weight. Use
Mm.
his weight. He's going to obviously have a massive weight advantage, surely, isn't he? Like a natural weight advantage. So just use your weight, lay on him, be awkward, try and do everything you can in that respect because sharpness and skills and agility and all that kind of stuff is obviously going to favour Tank.
Emma, being British champion, I want to ask you, what do you think is the current status of British female boxing? It used to, or at least the feeling was that there was a lot of interest in it, and that sort of, I don't know, I want to be directed, maybe died down a little bit. Do you feel the same way, or am I wrong in kind of feeling in that way?
No, I think you're spot on. I think probably 2 years ago, 2, 3 years ago, it was like on a great, great sort of trajectory moving forwards. Like especially in Britain, that was the place to be for women's boxing. It was really moving in a great light. And probably in the last sort of year, 6 months, it's just like slowed right down. For whatever, it's probably an accumulation of a few different reasons, and yeah, it's just slowed down, which is a shame because we're getting more fighters come through now. But look, you just need personalities in the sport, and I guess the more personalities there are, and the more people sort of speaking out and getting them opportunities, you might get another little lift in it. But I hope we do anyway.
What changed?
It's hard to say. Like, I think probably it's a difficult one for promoters because women want to be paid fairly, but at the same time, women probably aren't at the minute putting as many bums on seats as men are. So then they don't want to be a complete loss having to pay women X amount of money. So there's that factor. But then equally, if they promote women well, it shows Katie Taylor and like Terry Harper and Chantal Cameron, they become household names, don't they? So it's a two and two job, isn't it? They need to do their job as a promoter, and obviously the fighters need to put on entertaining fights, which I feel a lot of the women do. Like Katie Taylor Serrano, fantastic fights. So I don't know. It's just a bit of a lost interest from the main promoters like Eddie and Frank, I guess. But hopefully it picks back up soon.
What do you think about in terms of the introduction to of the BBC, because they seem to have been pushing women's sports and that sort of thing? Do you think with the introduction of the BBC there may be more opportunities for female fighting to get onto those cards?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope obviously they push the women's football a lot more now with the lionesses and stuff. So I really hope they push the women's boxing because there's entertaining. They're really entertaining fights, and if they just have push them a little bit and put a fight on, say a men's card and that, someone will sit there and tune in and think, wow, that's a really good fight to watch. So, it's just putting them out there a bit more. Like I say, exposure. It's like me with my career. Probably haven't had the exposure that I need. Bit more exposure, people see what I'm about. I'm a fan friendly style. People like watching me fight. So it's all about exposure and marketing it in the right way.
Emily, the final word with you before let you go. What would you like to tell the fans? What would you like to say to the promoters in terms of this fight coming up? What would you like to leave people with?
That I'm going to be new. I'm going to bring the IBF title back to the UK. I mean, what more can you want? Britain's going to have another world champion. So you think they'd want to put it on British soils and get the fight made and make a good show of it. And I'll do my part to sell it as well. But you can't do any of that without any backing. So fingers crossed.
Where can we find you on social media as well?
So I'm on X, Emma_Dolan21, and the same handle on Instagram.
Emma, really appreciate your time. Good talk. Looking forward to seeing you back in the ring and getting the opportunity you deserve as well too. Thank you, speaking to Seconds Out.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
You too.